Hey everybody, thank you for stopping back in at Zaks Muscle Motors. My name is Zach, and before we get started with the video today, which is special to me, I want to say thank you to the subscribers and the previous viewers for tuning back in, and also welcome and thank you to those of you that are new to the channel and just coming here for the first time. I appreciate you stopping by. Please click the subscribe button, and then also click the bell notifications so you'll be notified when new videos come out. Also, go to Zaks Muscle Motors on Facebook and Instagram and follow those pages. That's where videos and pictures and updates will be posted before they make their way to YouTube. Today's video is special because 6 or 7 years ago, I posted my first video of this caliber on YouTube about ignition timing. And today we're going to revisit that. So it's kind of coming full circle for me today. When I did the video, I was kind of a greenhorn. I didn't have the most knowledge. I was doing the best with what I had. I was still learning. I'm still learning today. I'm nowhere near the most knowledgeable person at this. However, I do study. I try to learn and stay ahead of the curve a little bit as best I can. So I'm going to give you some knowledge today, a little more in depth of what I did before. So I've got my little list right here of things I want to discuss, so I'm not distracted. I'm actually just looking at my topics to make sure I try to cover them all as best I can to give you guys the most knowledge that I can through this process. Ignition timing 101. What is it? Ignition timing is the degrees before top dead center that the spark fires on the compression stroke that ignites the air-fuel mixture, that creates the explosion, the flame propagation inside the cylinder, that shoves the piston back down the cylinder on the power stroke, which makes your power turn your crank through your drive line, whole 9 yards, makes your car move. Okay, that's what ignition timing is. Just the time that the spark fires in relationship to the compression stroke and all that. It plays an important role because if it's wrong, if it's not set right, you can cause engine damage. It's called knock. When you fire the piston, or excuse me, when you fire the ignition too soon, you ignite the air-fuel mixture too soon, it tries to force itself back the opposite way. So as the piston's coming up in the cylinder, we'll use this junk one from the Honda. As the piston's coming up in the cylinder on the compression stroke, so both valves are closed, the piston's coming up, it's squeezing the air and fuel that's in there, and at a certain point, the ignition's going to kick off. It's going to create a spark, and it's going to start the flame propagation of the air-fuel mixture inside that cylinder. If you do that at the right time, it will start to burn. The piston will reach top dead center. It'll pass the dwell on the crank, and it will start its way back down as the explosion occurs, creating power. If you do it too soon, the flame propagation pushes back against the piston and tries to shove it back the opposite way, and that is what is known as knock, pre-detonation. It's incredibly, it can damage your engine, totally ruin it. It can cause the pistons to pretty much slap themselves out and destroy your wrist pins. If you look at your bearings, if you're having a knock condition, you can look at your bearings and see where there's wear on the top of the bearing in the rod journal, from where it's hitting back against itself, causing damage in the babbitt of the bearing. So you want to make sure, it's very crucial. You can't just turn your distributor and go, okay, I got 30 degrees of timing in it, we're good to go. It doesn't work like that. And this is where I feel like maybe I kind of dropped the ball before, and I want to set the record straight on some of this stuff because I don't feel like I misled you, but I didn't put enough information out there to be completely candid about it, and maybe I just want to do better. I'll just leave it at that. So if you fire it too soon, you're going to create knock, which can cause your engine to have a failure. There's a couple things that cause knock: firing it too soon, or you may have a fuel that's not stable enough for the compression that you're running. If you're running a higher compression engine, you may need a higher octane fuel. In order to make that fuel more stable, the hydrocarbons burn differently. They may burn slower, so you're going to be able to propagate the flame differently, and it's not going to fire back against itself. There's a lot of factors that go into this. Heat and compression play a big role. So I guess to kind of break this down as far as the heat, the way it causes pre-ignition. Your fuel octane rating is the fuel's ability to withstand knock, to withstand pre-detonation. Pre-detonation is knock, that's where your damage comes from, again. So you can combat that by either retarding the timing, so pulling some timing out of it by a few degrees where it's not firing as soon, or you have to run lower compression, or you can throw a higher octane fuel that's more stable under higher compression applications, and you can add more timing into it, pull more power out of it. Excuse me. And so there's a few ways you can kind of tweak it and move it around and get it to where you need it to be. You don't have to tear the motor apart to change anything, really. It comes down to fuel and timing. You can add a higher octane fuel and things like that. There's two different kinds of timing. You have your base timing, which is where your engine is going to idle at. The degrees before top dead center at an idle that the timing sits at. So let's just say a stock application, you're turning 8,000 RPMs, you might be somewhere in the range of anywhere 6 to 10 degrees, okay, depending on your build and all that. Then you have total timing. You can set your base timing to get you in the ballpark, to get you up and running, okay? What you really want to focus on is your total timing. So once you get the engine up and running to full temperature, the whole 9 yards, you put your light on it, and you want to set your total timing to right as far as you can get it advanced before top dead center, before you start getting a knock condition, before it starts trying to pre-detonate that fuel. And you can do that on a dyno. You can do it in the car if you have a, not a crazy loud exhaust where you can hear the engine knocking. I mean, if you start getting it real bad, you can hear it kind of hammering back against itself, even over a loud exhaust. That's the thing you want to listen for. Then if you're having a knock, you want to retard it. So pull some timing out of it to fire the air-fuel mixture later in the compression stroke to get it past top dead center without trying to fire back against itself. That's your total timing. You'll want to set that around 4,000 RPMs, and you could set that anywhere from 18 to 36, 38 degrees depending on several factors: compression, heat, fuel octane, the type of head you're running, timing, as far as valve timing and things like that, which I'll touch on just a little bit. I don't want to get too skewed and get too far into it right now, because we can kind of break some of the stuff down later in other videos and go more in depth with it. So, for instance, cast iron heads. Let me kind of back up. So, timing, you can put more timing into an engine and pull more power out of it to a certain degree. The more time you can kind of add to it, the longer the propagation, the more efficient the burn, the more power you're going to make. It's the more efficient that it is. So if we can decrease the heat, decrease the chances of pre-detonation more, and we can add more timing into it, you're going to get more power. The first thing you can do, obviously, is put a higher octane rated fuel in it that's more stable. That's one thing. If you have a set of cast iron heads, cast iron will hold heat a lot more than what aluminum will. So with a set of cast iron heads, you may only be able to run 22, 24 degrees of advanced timing, as to where if you have the same setup with a set of aluminum heads, you might get by with 26 to 28 degrees of timing with the same fuel, with nothing else changed, just because it's going to dissipate the heat faster, and the fuel itself will be more stable because it's not dealing with the higher element of heat that it would be with a set of cast iron heads. So there's a lot of little things like that that go into it that can affect the timing that you can put into it, the fuel that you're going to need, and all that. And like I said, we'll break that down. I'm just trying to give you a gist of it. And just because you have a higher octane engine doesn't necessarily mean that you have to run a higher octane fuel. Take an F1 car, a Formula 1 car, for example. They go up to like 17 to 1 compression. They turn 20,000 RPMs. Now, you would think they would require like some kind of 120, 130 rocket fuel, because you got some guys in old American muscle cars, like in the Camaro. I've tried to run it on 93 pump gas, and it just runs like dog crap. It stumbles on itself. It doesn't want to stay running. But you put some 110 in it, it runs smooth. It runs so smooth it fires right up every time. It idles nice. It runs nice. It's very responsive, but you just won't pull it off with a 93. So you would think that going from that compression ratio to something crazy like a 17-to-1 in an F1 car, that you might need some crazy out there fuel. But in the truth of it, they're running somewhere between 91 to 98 octane, and they have a max octane of 102. So that's less than what I'm running on my Camaro. And they have a compression ratio that's 6 points higher than mine. So it's absolutely crazy of how they kind of mix these different kinds of hydrocarbons and stuff and the technology that goes into these engines. So it really kind of boils down to is how your engine is built. So just because you have a higher compression engine doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to need a higher octane fuel. You just might need a different type of fuel, a different type of hydrocarbon mixture in that fuel to burn it effectively. So don't get too hung up on that. And if you have a different engine builder, you'll want to consult with them and talk to them and see what they would suggest as far as fuel, timing, and all that kind of stuff you want to put in that particular motor. And again, when you start running different kinds of fuels, like if you're running some crazy fuel, then you're going to need to run, you know, some above stock internals. You don't, in most cases, want to run out with some 110 octane and start dumping that into your car because you're going to cause damage. And they learned that back in the day when I had a guy at work talk to me about this the other night, actually, and we had a debate about it, but the old, what they call drip gas from the oil wells, they would use this drip gas, which was like 30 to 50 octane. And back in the day when those motors were really low compression, like 7-to-1, maybe even a little lower, they could put this drip gas in with that crazy low octane, and they would run. They would run. They didn't have the issue with pre-detonation and stuff, but you cannot take that drip gas and put it in a car today because it will rattle itself to death as you backfiring and tearing shit up, and you cannot do it. You cannot really do that with an engine from the 50s, a first generation small block V8. You will tear them apart. So there's a wide range, and it comes down to compression. It comes down to cylinder head type, and all kinds of different things. It's not a one size fits all kind of thing. So if you have an engine builder that built your stuff and you're having an issue with maybe it not wanting to run right, talk to him and see what kind of octane you might need to run for that particular build. Because it's incredibly crucial. So how you're going to increase your timing, again, like I showed in the first video, is with your distributor. If you're running a vehicle with a distributor, you're not running like an LS with a computer and you got coil packs and all that stuff that's computer controlled. You're looking at just the distributor, and you're going to advance it by turning it counterclockwise, and you're going to retard it by turning it clockwise. So as you advance it, you're going to add a few more degrees of timing before top dead center. You're going to fire that flame or the air fuel mixture sooner. You're going to get the flame propagation started sooner. If you retard the timing or pull timing out of it, you're going to be firing it later in the sequence. It's going to be putting more power in after it goes over top dead center. And if you've got the right fuel for it, that's okay. But you want to get yourself to the point where you can run the max amount with your fuel and everything calculated in, run the max amount of timing to pull the max amount of performance out of it for your application. So we're kind of at this this point here where you got some of the basics. So ignition timing, really, like I said, it's incredibly critical. It has to be done right, or you can destroy things. If you do it right, you're going to make good power. It's going to have great performance. It's going to be efficient. But you have to take all these things into consideration. It's not just a one-size-fits-all. Like that truck that I showed you the video of when I first did the ignition timing video, it was a stock motor, and I really didn't know, like, again, what I was doing. And I was putting racing fuel in it, and I thought it was just going to be, you know, the next hot item to shake the stick at the mud bog, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I hurt myself by doing the things with the timing and the fuel that I did because I didn't have the other components in the engine to back it up. So don't just go throwing some crazy freaking fuel into it or change your carburetor and all this stuff and go jacking with the timing, because if you don't have a good understanding of what it is and where it needs to be, you're really just shooting yourself in the foot. You can cause yourself a lot of damage and, you know, lose money and stuff in the long run too. So I want to put some different videos out that go more into depth on the cast iron and the aluminum heads and compression ratios and stuff like that. And right now, I've reached out, for the sake of it, I won't mention the company, but to a company that does racing fuels. And I'm going to work on a video, question and answers with them, where you can have a professional. We're going to sit down and discuss it and give you guys some more answers on that type of thing. So I got that video coming. Hopefully, if I can't get somebody to sit down, then I've got enough information I can give you guys the basics, the gist of octanes and all that stuff and kind of how it works, and then play that in with timing. So this is just kind of the gist of it, and then we'll break it all down into other videos later. So, not to get too crazy long with this is the gist of it, a little more in depth of the gist. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you learned something from it. If you have questions, you can call me. You can message me on Facebook or Instagram. My phone number is 765-524-7362. You can call me pretty much whenever. And if I can't get it right then, I'll call you back as soon as I can. I love talking to you guys. And I just love seeing where this channel is going. I mean, we're at 5.7 thousand subscribers now, which isn't crazy. But to me, that's a lot. That's pretty amazing. So I appreciate you guys, and I hope this was informational to some degree. Y'all have a great day. Take care, and remember, like, share, and subscribe, and follow me and all that jazz. So talk to y'all later. Have a great day.